Right. And we are forcing the interaction to happen at the intersection that doesn't have to, it didn't in the past. But this, it's like saying what may have in the past been annoying the driver, kids going through an intersection. Now it's going to force that 8-year-old right into the bumper of a car and can't see them. So I just think it's a terrible mistake.
I see. And so when did you start the change.org?
So a week ago.
A week ago?
I believe.
Was it only a week? Then more than weeks ago.
Maybe as much as 2 weeks. Like, I mean,
Okay.
Have you ever been out
Ross Road?
there on either 8 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock afternoon? Have you ever been there?
I've been there a lot, but I'm not sure I've been there.
Not
Actually,
at that time?
I used to, so my company's office used to be kind of industrial way, kind of, San Antonio, and it's kind of the Costco, right? It's in Paul's, but it's in a Costco. And so once in a while, I would actually take Ross Road. But this is not after the change. This is like, a few years ago.
Right.
We've been in this office for a while now. So so I used to take Ross Road, but I haven't taken it recently. So
She actually takes it every day to school.
so Liza's at
At the
school.
auction.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I don't live there, but I do sometimes go to the YMCA to campaign for their phone events, but that's usually in the evenings.
Yeah.
So there's one time I went there, it was at 10 p.m. and there was like no cars. Swift and easy for me. I didn't feel any problems with it.
Yeah,
So-
I do. But I do bike around 8 a.m. I bike to school, so I bike
Right.
around at school times.
Yeah. And I'm living third house from the Ross on East Meadow. And I almost lost my front of my house parking space because the other corner neighbors, they all park in front of my parking space. Well, I actually did not need that parking space, but if somebody visit me, they have to go way over. They have to park. That doesn't matter with me. My concern is if I have fire in my house. That's my most concern. That's what I mainly wrote it there. Fire car has to come. Fire station is right in the corner. East Meadow and Middlefield. They can come right off. Even doesn't take how many seconds, even matter of the minute, they can be there. Now, how they can come turning. That road circle, if they are wide, I wouldn't mind. But they are so narrow. If you see that,
you mean after the change?
after change,
With
yes.
the current design.
They can make left turn. They have to run over sidewalk. If, like Jeff said, if they left sidewalk alone, if they didn't make that sidewalk stupid wide, I don't know why, it would be a lot easier. Even us, if I make a left turn from my house to going out to East Meadow on the other side, my God, now I have to go way down to Lewis, or I have to turn on the way up to north, going to west, Bayshore Road now, because it's so difficult to turning. How a fire car can turn. Even this morning I went to walk into Ramos Park. You see there are a lot of car tire marks on that side.
Already. It's been up for
Many.
We have
Many.
Lon in the lane.
Oh,
Andrews?
Hi. Hello.
Hi. I'm great.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Got it.
Yeah. What's your Greg want to see, sir?
Right here.
Okay.
Hi. I'm
Great.
Greg.
Hi, Greg. Ron.
Hey, Ron. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you guys could scoot down a little bit. So that,
Yeah, let me move my backpack to this side.
So we were just kind of doing a little bit of round of introductions. So okay, so basically he was talking about bike safety.
Yep.
She was talking about fire responsiveness, and then it's your turn now. So,
Well, I'm not an expert. I fail to see how forcing untrained cyclists into the same lane as cars with untrained drivers looking for bicyclists in their lane makes anybody safer.
sure.
As far as the physical changes have gone, for a car, it's lame. It's a little bit more difficult, but fine. The emergency vehicles, though, I question whether a fire truck could get around, with not just the size of the roundabout, but the enlargement of the curbs every corner. And it must be 4 more feet out. I'm not quite sure exactly, but it's a lot bigger. And then they also added 2-piece lane dividers. So if you looked at it from above, sort of like a circle with points into each roadway.
Roundabouts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, well, the roundabout is the circle, but then it has these, big lane dividers that must be 2 or 3 feet wide at the point nearest the intersection.
I remember
And then
that.
they're about 8 feet long,
Hmm.
and there's maybe 3 feet between the two for pedestrian access, I think. All those things together, I think an ambulance will get around them, but I wonder whether the fire trucks can even go that way anymore, or they'd have to come down like Christine or something. So that part I don't like. But the safety, someone's going to get hit. It's going to be someone walking. It's going to be someone on their bike. It's going to be someone on their bike hitting somebody walking. But I just feel like putting more untrained people in the same space doesn't make sense for safety.
Are there a lot of people walking on Ross?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you see, right. I mean, there's people walk all the time. I'm out there playing.
Where do they walk? Just for recreation, or do they go anywhere?
Well,
There's kids
I
walking
couldn't
in
tell you
Fairmeadow.
exactly, but yeah, I mean, there's
There's
definitely kids walking to
thousands of
school.
them that go through that intersection.
Park
We're
is
talking
right there.
Yeah.
We're almost
And
talking
I
about-
walk there when I go to library also.
That's
only the
true. I mean,
park.
Mitchell's.
Love dog.
Yeah.
And then the YMCA as well.
Yeah. Well,
I think most people drive to the Y, which is
Yeah,
why
yeah,
I
yeah.
object to the
The
Y.
parking lot's
Sort
more
of
fun
out
than
of the
bike racks.
scope
No,
of this
no,
discussion.
There are quite a few who walk to the YMCA, ride their bikes to the YMCA. And there are occasions where even though you drive to the YMCA, you can't get into the parking lot because of overflow. There's insufficient parking. So
Right.
we park sometimes a couple blocks away and then walk the rest of the distance. So there are a lot of walkers in addition to the bikers.
Before you move on, can you show me on the map here exactly what you were talking about? Where
This
Ross Road?
is the intersection.
Okay.
Okay, so now there's a big roundabout.
Exactly.
And these corners, you can see these are the old normal corners.
Yeah.
Okay, they moved
you have
each
your photo?
apex of the corner out 3 to 4 feet. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you see where the dash and the solid green
Actually, maybe
lines
it's
are.
on George's.
There's now an 8-foot long structure that's about 3 feet wide to separate these lanes. But you have these huge blowed out corners, right? So it really funnels
anyone
you
have any
down.
photos?
So even like a normal width car, you only have maybe a foot on each side. So it's definitely done to slow people down. But as far as it goes, like
Yeah.
I keep coming back to
Okay.
Dee's point. Can
On
a fire
Palo Alto.
truck, fire engine
Thank you.
get around that and make that full left turn and come to
Greg,
your house?
here's an image.
Is this that intersection right there?
Yep.
Okay.
It might be. I don't
No,
know.
no, Slumberford is a different
No,
intersection.
that's on the verdict.
It's a different intersection. But okay, so your concern is that which way were the fire trucks going on this?
The fire department actually posted a response online.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here's
You have
the
a photo,
fire
George?
station.
Okay.
It would come down East Meadow,
Video.
and then
Finished it.
I mean, I kind of wonder could it even go right
Probably.
or left? I just
I don't
wonder
think
could
so.
a fire engine use that?
And this is what
Would
you
it?
this is what you were talking about as well. You were worried about the fire truck coming up, and you
Yeah.
were
That's right.
this is my
this,
house.
and you're worried about the fire truck that
They
would turn in.
cannot make that turn.
I wouldn't have
No
gone
way.
through that
Okay.
intersection.
They have to come with the Christine.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wish the Christine Road that they leave alone.
No, here's
I'm
Christine
afraid
over
of
here.
if they make it Christine,
like,
that the sidewalk
This is
change.
Christine, so they'd have to come out here and go there. Probably not the biggest difference in time. It's just who knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's awkward. Who knows?
And also, if I'm moving or moving truck have to come, one of my neighbors, how they can find my house?
This is this is before the traffic circle was built. This is the sidewalk
Oh, I see.
assumptions on it.
Okay, cool. So please,
We're here together, Elaine and Ron Andrews, so I'll have Ron go
Okay.
first and
Okay.
then
sure. Go ahead, please.
Well, I absolutely agree with all the comments that were made earlier here. It's bicycles, it's cars. We don't live on Ross Road, but we're there several times a week because we utilize the Ross Road Y. And so the traffic that goes in there at the time of popular classes, you see, more than just an occasional vehicle down Ross Road. And so now, you're slowing things down, but are you slowing them down to the extent that you're causing people who are late, anxious, and so on to be a hazard? All right, that's my problem. We also bike.
Okay, and it's very uncomfortable being in a very confined space where you know if a car is going to be passing you, you're going to be uncomfortably close. And I think the regulations are you need 3 feet between a car or something like that. It's
That's
not,
correct. Yeah. Need 3 feet.
and a bicycle. I doubt you can get that if you have simultaneous traffic of both vehicular and bicycles in these bulb out areas.
Just talk about, where do you guys live again?
You live on Nevada?
We live just across Oregon on Nevada and Cumber. Okay. And so it's just a short hop for us, and sometimes we bike, sometimes we drive.
And we have walked.
And we have walked. Okay.
Are you members of the YMCA?
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
issue is there are busy times for classes for 10, 15
I mean,
class,
at 10 o'clock,
9 o'clock
it's a
class,
huge class.
and we're all coming and going at the same time. Then there are people who ride, some of the older people have tricycles, and to maneuver over those bumps and everything with a tricycle, or same thing with bicycles with child carriers, any of those wagons. It makes it very difficult.
And for some reason, the drive entries into the Wise parking lot were bulbed out without very much rounding on the corners. And so if you want to swing in there without going up over the curb, you swing way over to the left as you're coming, and you want to make a right into it. There's oncoming traffic. It's another hazard. I mean, I understand, but I think the design was done poorly. And the other thing I would complain about, maybe I missed it, there was no ability for input from the citizenry, for whoever engineered the changes.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
yeah, it's sort of true. There were a couple meetings a few
Were there?
years ago at Maloney,
Could
but
have,
they really weren't like I did. They didn't mail anything out, and like nobody knew anything, and it was just because I happen to live 2 doors and 3 doors down from 2 men who've been deeply involved. Like 10 years ago, all we wanted was 3 speed bumps between these.
Right.
Yeah.
Do it, yeah.
We just wanted a couple speed bumps, but at the time, the guy who was spearheading that, like, he didn't understand that he had to choose one and bring that to the city. And the city, like, sent everybody out those mailers, and they're like, choose one of 3. And then, like, everybody split the vote, and they're like, well, there's no threshold crossed for doing anything, so nobody gets anything.
Well, and even previously when they were talking about the bicycle bridge across 101, they had all this information at the libraries so that the general public could vote on designs and all, and have so much input. And this,
provide some input,
all of a sudden it's happening, and people were confused. Even the vehicles that were either, I don't know if it was trash or utility or whatever, during construction, they were doing all these illegal maneuvers just to get around some of these obstacles. And we thought, oh my gosh, these obstacles can't handle the truck at the time. So, but that was not fair because it was during construction. So there was more obstacles.
One other reason we're here and particularly interested in is that the word is that the next Bryant is the next, it's a bicycle boulevard, is going to get the same treatment.
I haven't heard that one, but okay.
Oh yeah.
That I mean, you got another situation where at particular times of the day, because of Castellea and all the traffic to and from
There.
on Bryant, that if you have these bulb outs, you're going to create. Somebody's got to rethink it, I guess, and allow people to comment. All right. I mean, you're here to support the citizenry, but you go off and do things with good intentions, but with unexpected results, which if there was a little more ability to comment, might have prevented that situation.
And the cost effectiveness, the cost of this was exorbitant. And what the city has, and here we are paying taxes, and that's not how we want
maybe I'm cynical, but you hear about underfunded pension plans and all the other things that you hear in the city having problems financially, and then you see a project like this, which could have been done with a few speed bumps.
Right, and then we thought, okay, they put rocks, so they're not going to put plants, but I think there's going to be plants, because we saw under the road that they're putting up, it looked like water systems.
Well, if you put plants, you're going to need to irrigate.
Well, not only irrigate, which is not wise at this time with the droughts. But in addition, it's going to cause more. We've got regular plants in neighborhoods already where you can't see around the bushes on the corner. So now throw in some more obstacles to something that's already impossible.
So, so you guys go to this area because of the YMCA, correct?
Right.
Okay. So, how often do you guys go to YMCA a week? Like once a week?
No,
At
no.
least 3 times.
At least
and
3,
sometimes
4.
Right.
Three,
3 or
4
4.
times a week. We go down Loma Verde and turn on Ross. And then very often we'll continue down Ross all the way to the end and either go to the library up Meadow or continue
If we're
down,
out, right, we do.
go
we do
shopping
everything.
down
We're up
on
and down
San Antonio.
almost the entire stretch of Ross
Yeah.
Road.
It's worth noting that you can't cross Oregon Expressway on Ross, right?
Right.
They intentionally made that discontiguous. So
Which was fine.
Which
I
is
mean, that was a
great.
good
Yeah,
idea.
Yeah, those speed bumps on the north part of Ross Road are so big, they're bone dry, right? So no one drives there if you don't
14
have
of them.
Yeah.
You go up and
14
down.
of them.
I stopped going
So
that
no one
way
drives
at
it.
all.
And that's all they have to do.
Right.
Right.
One more speed
Exactly.
bump.
Yeah.
With the,
Achieved all these results.
I honestly haven't driven down that section of Ross in
Yeah.
like 15 years. The
Yeah.
only time I've gone over it is when somebody else was driving. I was
Yeah.
like, why are you taking me this way?
Well, I drop kids off there. I have one of the soccer players
Oh, you
lives
would
there.
do-
Okay.
So I'm the only car on that road because it stinks, right? And they could have done that very easily
That's
without
all they had to do.
squeezing cars and bikes together.
So, for the 3 or 4 times you go to the YMCA, how often do you walk, bike, or drive? I'm just curious to know because these people all live there, right? But for you guys are coming in. So I'm just curious, like, what is the mode of transportation you guys use? Most
Vehicle mostly, but in the summertime, when it's nice day, warm, and so on, bicycles are another way of getting some
Right.
exercise.
and
And so that,
we've walked.
and we walk a few times
Yeah.
if we got the time in the morning. So it's
So as far as the
So-
percentage.
equal
Mostly.
between bike and walk, but more than half with a vehicle.
Okay. And what would you say for the attendees? Because I don't go to YMCA myself. So
Right.
for the attendees, what would you say? What is their main way of getting there?
Well, the parking lot's always full for the
It's
big,
cars.
the big
Cars.
cars.
There's only
It's all part of it.
35
And
parking
in fact, it
places.
overflows onto the street, which
Yeah.
There's
now
only
we've taken
35
away
bike
parking
spaces.
places.
I've never
and,
not gotten a bike space on the right
Yeah.
one.
which is,
Yeah,
I
bikes.
mean, if I lived on Ross Road, I would really complain. I mean, because I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
park my own vehicle in front of my own
Right.
house
Right.
because all these people,
Right.
I'm the corner.
yeah.
We are the corner over there.
One of our neighbors, they now can only back out and go north on Ross because of that lane divider that they put.
Yeah.
So like they can't back out. They'd have to like back out and then be backing down the
20 feet, yeah.
streetways, right? I mean, they got screwed.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't,
then people next across the street from them, they lost at least 1 parking space, maybe 2,
Two
because
parking
the
space.
bulb out
Yeah.
kind of tapers for a ways too. So, and then they have a driveway right next to their property on that side.
So you guys have all kind of ridden into the city, right? Obviously, that's why you're here. You guys have all ridden into the city about this issue, right?
just this petition.
Okay. This
Yeah.
petition, okay. And just out of curiosity, what has city staff? How city staff responded to you guys?
You're the only one.
That's what I want to ask you.
Okay.
My curiosity. Okay.
Okay.
We are the residents of Ross Road.
Mhm.
That right affected 99% of this construction.
Mhm.
City never, like
Mhm.
Jeff said, never let us know what is actual construction
Mhm.
or what is designs work.
Yeah, right.
And they never let us know there is any meeting for this.
Mhm.
Design for citizens,
Mhm.
any meetings for that. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, my real curiosity,
Mhm.
did the city council member voted okay for this? Prove it.
Well, I didn't. I wasn't on council at the time, but still, I'm that's one of the. I'm just curious to know like what has. So the way the city government is structured, you have city council, then you have the city manager, who's like the CEO of the city. So the city council doesn't actually do the, fine details of the project. It's kind of overseen by the city manager, and then there's like Joshua Mello, who's the chief transportation official, who's one who's in charge of controlling this. And so I was really curious to know if Joshua Mello or anyone from his team has responded to your guys.
So one person from the city sent me an email, and I said, all of the questions you're asking are answered on Nextdoor. He said, I'm not a resident of Palo Alto, so I can't get that information.
What? Wait. You're not resident?
He's not.
Oh,
The
he's not
person who
resident.
was requesting And so I didn't cut and paste everything from next door because it's all there and it's all
Okay.
obvious. It's a letter from the fire department. It talks about police reports from a kid running into a car trying to avoid this intersection. It's all out there.
Yeah, so we had we saw that, and so we organized a meeting on this 2 months ago.
In January, end of January.
Yeah, end of January, and
Actually, quite a lot of people were in favor of it.
there were quite a lot of people in favor of it. Yeah, so and in fact we're going to have another one. What
April 1st.
April 1st, to have a more in-depth discussion, and then this item's actually going to come to council, just because there's been a lot of angst over it.
Can I ask, what were they in favor of? Like bike safety, bike boulevard, traffic calming,
Generic
like the
bike
generic
boulevard.
stuff like
Yeah.
that?
Well,
Or
so
did they explain exactly what they were going to do?
we
the
have notes
physical
on it. Do you
changes
know?
they made?
I mean, we had a video on Facebook. I think you watched it.
Yeah, the Leslie
Yeah.
sent me like
Yeah,
there's
okay.
27 views of it. But there's 500 people signed a petition opposing these exact
So,
changes.
but what was the meeting about? Like, was it just generic?
We
Were
invited everyone who rode in about Ross Road and about like bike safety, and a lot of people were happy about bike safety. That they thought the measures were working, and there wasn't.
It so happened that all the people who responded to our invitation happened to be people who were
Yeah.
in favor of it.
Silicon Valley bike.
And that
We
was
don't
everyone
really have
who-
much control over that.
So they don't approve of cars on the roads.
We kind of have to invite everyone when we have a big
Yeah.
meeting, just to
So
include
they-
people. So we don't really have control of having more of one side, and that's not really within our control.
Well, what we try to do is we actually try to have both sides
Yeah,
in general,
But the way
not,
it
not
works-
just on this topic, but all topics.
and the way it works, we just invite everyone, and it just happened that the people who were in favor of it decided to come.
Yeah, which is really interesting because in this
Yeah.
meeting here, everyone here seems to be very opposed to it. Which,
Yeah.
There's
So-
I'm not
500
opposed
people
to
who are
bike
opposed.
safety. I'm opposed to the manner that it was
Right.
implemented.
These changes are bad changes.
Usually it's separate cars and
Right.
vehicles rather than have them
Yeah.
merged
Just
together.
putting them
and fight
together
it
is
out.
insane.
Right.
yeah.
I mean, if they
I'll
grew
tell you-
up that way, if they were trained to ride bikes that way,
The thing is, they took what was working and broke it. So it wasn't like we had this problem. We created a problem of pushing bikes into traffic.
I think
The road was so wide, the
right.
bikes could go by with two cars and not have a problem.
Actually, one of the people in the meeting, like, is friends with someone in Portland who is in charge of safety things, and he drove on the road with that person, and the person from Portland said that's pretty classic traffic calming measures to put those bulb outs. Like that's what they usually do.
But just one.
Yeah.
We have three things.
Okay.
They did the bulb outs, the roundabout,
Yeah.
and the lane separators.
Okay.
All three is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us would be here if they'd done just one of those things.
Yeah.
Well, and the bulb outs are so wide
They're absurd.
that the vehicles can't be that large.
Well,
Yeah.
with the size of the roundabout and the bulb out, that's the lane is insane.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
in fact, we had was it last week or the week before we had the Boy Scouts? Like
The
some
Boy Scouts, yeah, last week.
Yeah, and they were. This was also a topic actually. So we've had
Yeah. It's
we've
a hot
had
topic.
we've had like one meeting on it before, like in the January. We had the Boy Scouts who came in. We have this meeting, and then we're gonna have one more on a first. But so there's definitely an issue because it seems like there's a lot of unhappiness. And we saw the next door postings and people writing to council. So definitely there's an issue, right? So this is why it's going to come back to council. I'm not sure when the exact date's going to be, but this is why we're holding the office because I'm trying to get an understanding of like what's going on here, right?
So I think it would be very helpful if all of you came to the meeting on the 1st, because we're actually going to have the opposition side come in as well, so you can speak to them directly. Because I don't want to quote them. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, this kind of
I'm
predates us.
neutral on this
So-
issue.
April 1st is Easter Sunday, just to be clear.
Yes, that
And it's when
There's no chance people are coming.
Coming
in.
up.
I don't know. Who's,
Yeah,
who's
maybe-
who signed up for it right now?
the emails have not been sent out yet.
Oh, I see.
it seems like a terrible
It's
time
good to
to
know.
use.
That's not going to happen.
It sounds like dumping bad news on Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
And,
Right.
and will that meeting consider only Ross Road or the potential for Bryant having this? And can Bryant be adjusted before?
Well, Brian hasn't. I don't.
So,
I haven't seen.
Greg,
any-
let's move it to the 8th, then the 8th of April.
It's just, yeah, spring break.
I think as long as it's before the council item. So I'm not sure when the council
I
item.
mean,
is
that's a Sunday of spring break, so
Once we
most people
figure
should
this
be
out,
home.
we'll email all of you
Yeah.
at that time.
As well as I am a bike advocate myself. I just have a child that has to ride through a terrible intersection. I'm a parent more strongly than I am a bike advocate. And I just think what was done, Bryant, with just discontiguous traffic and a speed bump, would have sufficed. And instead, they've done all this traffic forcing bikes to the middle.
Okay.
Where I trained
Bryant is
behind
very
an
nice.
8-year-old kid in the middle of the street last week.
However, if I'm not mistaken, not only will Bryant and California Ave, get a roundabout,
Calavis?
Cal Ave.
California
and Bryant,
across from
The
Alma.
intersection.
the
okay.
intersection of California
North
Ave
Cal
by Alma,
Okay.
you know, that section of it, and Bryant. What's projected, according to what I read in the paper,
Mhm.
is a traffic circle there, and then putting bulb outs down Bryant.
Mm.
So if that can be addressed before
And stop
the
them.
millions are spent,
And stop that.
because so that needs to be dovetailed into some meetings. So please get some more information for us
Yeah. Well,
on the Bryant, because
yeah. So there's
that's
several.
projected.
There's several layers. So some of this might have gone through the Planning Transportation Commission, which reports into the council. So that's what we might be referring to. Some of these things we don't see, right? The commissions handle. So, but I think for the next meeting, I think it's a good point that it's Easter. So I think we should.
We're gonna move
Yeah.
that to
So,
a better date.
but you just need to make sure that that happens before the council meeting, whatever that. I'm not sure
Yeah.
when it is on the agenda though. But one of the ideas that came out of the meeting we had with the Boy Scouts, because they were also concerned about Ross Road, was this idea of car protected bike lanes. So I kind of understand the rationale behind why they are trying to squeeze the bikes and cars together. So they're not trying to separate them. They're trying to put them together. And the rationale is the idea that if the bikers and the cars, if the drivers, they feel uncomfortable sharing the lane together, that everyone will become more careful. It'll actually be safer because everyone's uncomfortable. So everyone will drive slower. So that's the basic rationale. There's actually a lot of transportation research that actually shows that actually is true. But the big problem though is that it makes everyone feel very uncomfortable. Right? That's a big problem, right? It makes it people that maybe would have biked more often don't want to bike because they don't feel comfortable sharing a car with the road, right? I mean, like an 8-year-old kid sharing a car, sharing the road with a big car is it's kind of scary, right? So I think that's the big. I mean, I think from the research I've seen, it is actually more safe, but it just makes everyone feel very uncomfortable, and that's a big issue.
Any of the research conducted around an elementary school, or are these adults biking to work?
I'm not as deep in it.
I
So,
guarantee you,
but-
an 8-year-old driving 5 miles an hour is not helping traffic.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Forcing an 8-year-old.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the one of the ideas that came out of the meeting last week was, and you guys could watch it.
It's on Facebook.
Yeah, it's on Facebook. Okay.
It's public.
So you guys can go to my Facebook page, and most of these we televise, so you guys, or not televise, record, so you guys can also see what happened.
Just like this meeting is going to be posted on Facebook as well.
Exactly. So one of the ideas that came out of it is this idea of car protected bike lanes. So instead of having right now the current setup is the cars and bikes are on the same road, right? And then you have the parked car, and then you have the sidewalk, right? So that's the current configuration. So instead of that configuration, it would be you have a car, you have a parked car, you have the bike lane, and then the sidewalk. So you have the bike lane as close to the sidewalk as possible, and then the parked car blocks or protects the bike lane from the moving cars. I'm not sure if you guys understand what I'm saying.
that would work in a wider street, like in a city, but in a suburban setting like Palo Alto,
Mhm.
you'd have to go one way, which I think would be less objectionable than what we have now.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge fan of that, but if that was, you're saying one of these two options, I would definitely choose.
These are just ideas that came out of the meeting. So I'm not saying that anything is going to happen, but this is just, and you guys can watch it on.
Those exist in Seattle. They exist in New York. They exist in
And the
other
Boy
places.
Scout meeting is
Anywhere
also.
you have to cross it, like every driveway. You
How's
just create everywhere you have to cross that. You're sending a car right across the bike lane.
Mhm.
So if you have any driveway,
But you're always going to cross the bike lane no matter what.
Not in New York City where they got businesses. They don't park there.
No, I'm saying is that if unless you don't have bikes on Ross, there's no way for a car to get out of this driveway without crossing a bike lane. There's no way.
Right. I'm saying in New York they don't have driveways.
Oh, I
That's
understand
the
what you're saying.
distinction.
But I'm just saying
That's why
that-
that works there.
Well, I guess
Wouldn't work is if you have a house.
no, I guess I'm saying that unless I'm misunderstanding. I don't think there's a way to get a car out of the driveway without crossing a bike lane.
There's not, which is why it's not a good design.
No, even with the bike lanes. So there's the bike lanes. So there's several ways. You could do it in the current configuration, which is what they call a share. Right, the cars share the road with the bikes. Okay, that's the current configuration. That's one way of doing it. Then there's no bike lanes. So that you don't have to worry about crossing bike lane because the bike lane is car lane, right? There's only one lane. The other configuration that happens is you have a car, you have a bike lane, you have a parked car, and you have a sidewalk. Okay, so that's the more traditional kind of configuration, right? Yeah, is that configuration. But even in that configuration, a car pulling out of the driveway has to cross a bike lane. There's no choice, right? So what I'm talking about is not so much. What I'm talking about is swapping the parked car and the bike lane. That's what I'm talking about. So instead of having a parked car on the inside next to the sidewalk, have the parked car next to the moving cars. So it protects the bike lane from traffic, from cars. So it's no different than having the bike lane on the outside where the cars are going. Except you're just swapping the parked car and the bike lane. I don't know if you.
I fully understand.
Yeah.
The bike can see the car when it's riding next to it. The bike cannot see the car when it turns in front of the parked car. That's right. So that's not a great solution. That's right.
Okay, so maybe we could draw what you're talking about.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Well, I'm not understanding. Maybe you could.
Show you.
Why don't you show me what you're referring to, just so I
So
can.
today, as you're suggesting, there's a car out here, bike lane here, parked car here, sidewalk here, pedestrians out. The bike sees the car. You can even see if the door is open, which is the dangerous part, right? And the car can see the bike, so it knows to slow down and not cut in front of it. What you're proposing, which I've seen in New York, is cars out here, parked cars here, bikes here,
Okay.
and people out here. This bike's riding happy along until this car cuts across here to get into their driveway. So it works if this is not possible. As soon
Oh, I
as
see
you
what
come
you're
car here, it's
saying.
going to drive
Okay,
right
yeah,
past
that
this
makes a
car
lot
and
of
cream
sense.
the bike.
Okay, I get what you're
The
saying.
bike's happily driving 20 miles an hour because he can't see the car until the car's right in front of him and goes over the hood.
Okay.
But in the city setting, you don't have those driveways
Okay.
for the
You don't
cars.
let them cross there, yeah.
Okay, that's a good point.
So we have like 5 minutes left. So
Yeah.
if anyone want to say anything else,
Any other thoughts?
I'm reading through this comments. One person said on
I
Tuesdays
can
that
tell
fast.
you my experience how dangerous cars and bikes using same lane.
Is it worse than
Last
Tuesdays?
week I have to go to Loma
Trash can.
Verde, make a turn, so I have to go up to north from my house. There was 2 boys in front of my car and biking. They chatting each other. I have to follow them because a lot lower than 25 miles an hour. I probably got like 15, 20 miles an hour while I followed. The one of the young guy behind me, he was driving. He couldn't wait.
Right.
Follow them.
Yeah.
You know, right before YMCA, there's narrow bump, right? As soon as they passed it, this guy,
Yeah, that happens all the time.
I was, oh my God.
Yeah.
Automatically, I put my brake it, and I said myself, oh my God, how dangerous it is. That's my experience in Rossville.
Yeah, I mean, we already had a problem with people doing 45, 50.
Mhm.
Seriously, not exaggerating that.
Yeah.
On Ross,
Yeah.
like, they stop at East Meadow and, I'm 4 houses down,
Yeah.
they're already going 45 to 50.
So
So they're not going to wait for kids going 10.
yeah, so I like how you drew this, right? So the current configuration is car plus bike,
Yeah.
right? That's the current configuration,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a parked car here, and then
There's not all space for a parked car and there's to bulb out.
well, no, I'm just trying
Okay.
Yeah.
to put the various options here. Okay,
There is
so
sidewalk.
so this is what it currently is, where you have the car plus bike, the parked cars, and the people, right?
Yeah.
The sidewalk.
Mm.
There's a traditional way, which is you have the car, the bike, which is I guess what we had before. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And that's
Yeah.
what Loma Verde is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had
Charleston too, right?
we had the car, we had the bike, and then the parked car and the
Park
people,
car.
right?
Yeah.
Was there a dedicated bike lane
On Loma Verde, one side you cannot
on
park.
Ross?
So
Was there dedicated?
No.
No,
I
Rossville.
don't-
East Meadow
It's
was.
just always wide enough that it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
You got 2 bikes and 2 cars passing each other on Ross Road. The problem now is this constriction and bikes being told to ride the street.
Yeah.
I was behind, honest to goodness, an 8-year-old kid driving 5 miles an hour on that road for 4 blocks.
Yeah.
The kid didn't stop at the stop signs and never tried to let me pass.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Is
Yeah.
everybody
Right,
behind me
yeah.
wants to drive more than 5 miles an hour.
Okay,
It doesn't
so-
matter.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get your guys' feedback, right? So, okay, so this is what we had before, right? Was this configuration: car, bike, parked car, people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
right.
hesitate. I would say more like the bike lane and the parked cars sort of shared their space.
Yeah.
And now we're
Okay.
trying to get the bikes and the cars on the street.
Okay. So let me
Just share their
let me draw
space.
this right again.
So let's kind of switch that around.
So we have the car, and then we have parked cars plus the bike, right?
right?
Almost.
And then
So-
they just sort of swerve onto the sidewalk or
that's-
veer into the roadway when
that's
they have to go past.
That's fine. I just want to trying to. So is this before then? essentially?
Basically.
Okay, so we have the car, parked car plus bike,
Mhm.
and then the people, right? Okay. Now it's this way. We have the car plus bike, the parked cars, and the people. Is that
Yes.
The thing is though, the kids still ride their bikes on the sidewalk now.
okay?
They don't feel comfortable
Okay, no,
riding at the
It's
street.
different. So
I understand. Okay, so the problem I think from what you were saying before was that the cars here were going really fast.
See, that's why I'm confused about all this.
Uh-huh.
Because I didn't feel like we had a bike safety problem on Ross. I felt like we had a cars going too fast problem. And it wasn't all cars. It's like maybe 10, 20%.
Yeah.
Most of the people, if you live there, you're going to follow the rules and you drive reasonably. But people who are, I hate to, paint them all with the same brush, but
Sure.
going to the Y,
Yeah.
especially when they're late for a
That's-
class
Yeah.
or they work
Yeah.
there, they're just blazing down there at like
Okay.
40, 45, 50.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand. Because I wasn't necessarily on council when this thing got approved, so I'm just trying to understand a little bit of the history here. So, okay, so that was the issue with this one, right? So now this thing's being implemented, right? This version of this being implemented, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, and I think the issue here is that the cars having to go too slow now, like 5 miles an hour behind a 8-year-old bicyclist, right? And that the bikers don't feel very safe because you have to share a road with a bunch of cars, right? Okay. So, what would you guys want the city to do, right? So this option, cars are going too fast, right? So, I think that's why,
I go back to what we wanted
More
15
speed
years ago.
bump.
Take
That's it.
everything out and just put in speed bumps.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If you have to leave the
Speed
roundabout,
bump will-
I could live with the roundabout. Just take out the lane dividers, undo the bulb outs on the curbs.
Okay.
And just put in the speed
I think
bump.
this is why we're going to have to have a meeting with everyone there
Yeah.
because
But I think to start with what Elaine suggests, let's stop doing any
Yeah.
more of this crazy.
Uh-huh.
Put it on
Yeah.
hold,
Or you
yeah.
spend more money.
Exactly. That's why
I
I,
think-
was.
yeah.
First, and then-
I think because there were people who were upset when it was like this, who were upset enough, huh?
Who?
Like the people at our last meeting, right?
Yeah.
they were.
They're kind of. Do they live there?
Well, I don't want to really speak for them, so I think it's just better when we invite them to the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah.
I
can-
would
they
say,
can actually
because
say.
I've seen what their group's done before, and they definitely have an agenda, and it's
Absolutely.
anti-car.
Right.
Okay, I also would like to know if any of those people from that group live in Palo Alto, much less live on Ross Road, or any of the other streets that would be affected by this construction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they don't drive.
A comment on
They're
process
anti-car.
here. I mean, my experience in industry has been best practices is a great way to go. I mean, no problems are unique to us. okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
And none of us are traffic engineers. Okay, and so to sit down at a desk and design a solution,
No, that's
With
what
no
I'm trying.
experience.
I'm trying to
but
understand
the
your-
point is, from a city council point of view, you could collect together what I would call best practices, what other people have done to solve this same problem, and educate the citizenry a little bit with here's ways to deal with problems like this, and let people respond and come back to you with it. I mean, don't feel like, well, one person in the city who's responsible for this is going to come up with the best solution, and we're not going to fight it. I mean, just spend a little time educating people who live in these neighborhoods with we have a problem. Everybody agrees.
Yeah, but I can't.
That's it.
For me, I can't educate everyone here on traffic engineering because I'm not an expert myself.
No. But
So-
you can have the city put a little effort into helping us understand what other people have done to solve this problem.
I agree.
I think
with-
the
Okay,
problem
there-
is that they do these things other places. It's just that they've taken other things and they've just put them all
Right.
here.
They misapplied all of them.
Yes, and like especially the bike lane thing, they've taken that and put from places that don't have driveways, and they're not worried about cars constantly crossing the sidewalk in front of pedestrians and bicyclists. And then in Portland, you mentioned the story about the guy from Portland who came down and said, "Oh, we do this," but they don't do bulb outs and roundabouts and lane dividers. They do bulb outs, and we have all three. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Well, I mean, what I'm trying to do here is I'm not trying to engineer a solution because I agree with you completely. What I'm trying to understand is I hear, I mean, this is like the third time I'm hearing this topic, right? I'm
We get about 10 or so emails a week about
Yeah,
this, so
and
it's a
so-
lot.
There's people who are unhappy with it before and love it the way it is now. I hear people who hate it the way it is now and wanted to go back to where it was, right? And so I'm trying to get a handle like on where we are on this, right? I'm trying to understand people's perspective because ideally there's a solution that everyone's happy with, or most people are happy with, but because at the very first meeting we had on this, we had people who were extremely like. I think in that meeting there's only one or two people who
There
were.
one or two people against it, one person.
One person who was against it, right? And we had 15 people there. So
Yeah.
Did that meeting after it was up?
Yeah.
Or just
It was done
in the
in late
midst of the
January.
construction.
Yeah.
And we invited everyone who had written to city council up until that.
yeah.
Are they living bathroom? Are they
Some
going
of
to
them did.
wine?
Some of them
See,
did.
that's the most important.
Yeah.
You know, if it is Ross Road construction,
Yeah.
people living on the Ross Road, the residents is most
That we are gonna
important,
have to-
their
Yeah.
opinion.
Okay.
And also who is going to wine.
So I think we need more time on this topic. So we're going to have another meeting on this.
Okay.
Where I'm going to try to understand people's perspective more on this. I just wanted to go over like the different people's different perspective, right? So that we have a good idea.
And thank you for
Thank you for taking
Thank
the
you
time and
very much.
effort to
Yeah,
respond
that
to our needs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
we'll let
thank
you
you.
know about the meeting and
Okay, thank you.
before we do
Before
say
I'm
that, I think
leaving,
it's-
I really
it'll be
want
good
to
for
ask
see
you
exactly
as
where we're
council
at. I don't really want to speak for them.
members,
I'm not really sure.
before you guys
Where
really
is it?
do something changes, who is the other people most effective that changes? You need their opinion, most important.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, and like I said, Ross Road, who is living Ross Road Street, their opinion is most important. Besides, who goes to YMCA, who drive Ross Road, or who biking Ross Road, who walking Ross Road. Those people are the most important, their opinions. Please, city council, don't do just on the desk, look at that video, look at just pictures. Okay, this is best. Oh, like a European cities, nice. This is not Europe. This is Palo Alto, IT city.
I think I understand your perspective.
So
Thank you.
that's what I really